So, Namaskar, good morning, all the viewers of Career Pathshala. We welcome you to this special morning session of Career Pathshala. It is really a great privilege to have with us the members from TCS, Shakti Nandan and Mrinalini from TCS Mumbai. Also, we are privileged to have Kopal Saluja, our proud VI Bhopal member, and also director of SAM University, Bhopal. And we had a very great session yesterday and हमने डॉक्टर आनंद देश पांडे सर को सुना on how every crisis bring better opportunities, and it was really a great insight he brought. And after that, we had Mr. Lavanam, who came and brought about the various employability issues, addressed a lot of Q&A. So the stage is set on employability, and no better than the leaders are providing employability to freshers. The India's pride and number one IT company, Tata Consultancy Services, which needs no introduction to any fresher. And I think anyone whom I meet across the industry with great years of experience, so when I go and meet them on a personal note, so they said ki there's been a lot I learned from TCS. So whatever company they work, they most of the time at the starting point was the type of nurturing TCS has brought for freshers. So great, and thank you so much, Shakti and Mrinalini, for coming up in our show. And you've been watched by students across the country. Yesterday we have great feedbacks about Career Pathshala coming from Goa, down south, Chennai, Madhya Pradesh definitely is the place we have a strong presence. So, on this note, I take this opportunity along with my co host Kopal to welcome you at Career Pathshala. And our today's topic would be on resume building and how to face the interview. Whenever we think of attending a campus drive, the first thought which comes is ki how should be our resume, what should be the CV, and it has so many options that people get confused on. So to set the tone, I would request first your opening remarks from Shakti, then Mrinalini, then I'll go to Kopal. Your just views on the topic and on Career Pathshala, and then we will set the course off. Once again, welcome all, and also a warm welcome to all the students and the youth who is watching this Career Pathshala. Thank you so much for the wishes, love, and affection you are bringing in. Over to you, Shakti, and then we go to Mrinalini. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Kopal, for having us here. Thank you to the entire CII team for giving us the platform wherein we can reach the maximum number of students and maybe share our inputs on how to be positive, how to create or get through this particular placement process, which I think is a dreadful stage or fear for every fresher who is coming into their seventh semester or starting their final years now. So I understand that these are difficult times and all of you would be facing challenges, going out, getting things done. But the most important thing right now is to take care of yourself, take care of your health, and take care of your families. I think this particular phase, through this phase, everybody is stressing on to learn and work on yourself, which is important for sure. But the most important factor right now, I think, is your health. And if you can take care of yourself, you take care of your mental health and your near and dear ones, I think you would be good to go. So today's session, as Anuj sir very rightly said, we would be discussing on resume building and how to face the interviews. Uh, Definitely, it would be our views, and you might would have heard from somebody else some other views. So the final decision that you would have is on you to decide whether this suits you or not. But this is something which we have come across interviewing thousands of students over the past 2 years now, and these have been our observations and inputs, and we would definitely like to share them with you. So thank you, sir, and thank you, Kopil. Over to you, Mrinali. You're on mute, Mrinali.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for setting the context, and thank you, Anuj sir, as well as Kopal, for having us here today. So, we will start with the session in a different format, which Shakti will be taking ahead with in the beginning, and then I will continue. We will be discussing about both resume building and how we can help students face the interviews, because the upcoming placement season is not very far, and obviously everybody would be worried on how to face the interviews, especially today when we are all at home and it could be in a virtual mode too. So I hope this particular platform will help the students on uh, having tips and ability for them to improve on themselves and face the interviews in the upcoming placement season and help them prepare for the corporate world ahead. And with this, I would like Shakti to begin the session for us today.
Can we have a quick comment from Kopal on behalf of the
Yeah.
student fraternity and the college, the expectation and how this is going to be?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Anuj sir. First of all, I would like to welcome Nalini ma'am and Shakti sir on this platform. It would be a very helpful session because, as we all know, because of COVID-19, all of us are at home. The students are at home, and there is a kind of panic in the students' minds that what will happen, will the companies hire us? Um, what are the things they want in us? What other maybe certifications they want from us? So I think we can discuss on that, and I hope it would be a lovely session by Nalini ma'am and Shakti sir. So over to you, sir.
The stage is all set, Shakti and Milani. Please start, Shakti sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. One thing that I would say is when anybody says placements and after campus season is coming and placements are coming, I'm sure all of the students have that giddy feeling, that feeling that oh shit, this is happening, and how do I prepare myself? Would I be good? Would I land that offer that I aspire for? Would I be able to, achieve what we have been, or rather, I have been working since last 4 years for? So these are some of the stressful feelings that everybody faces and everybody feels. Now, what I would like for all of you who are listening to this session is to take these negative thoughts away from you. What I would want you to take away from this session is positivity, learnings, and the confidence that placements, or rather, this entire process is not a rocket science. And if you're willing to work on yourself, it's not a very big task to achieve. All the students, all the freshers who are out there, just feel the fact that you are good, and if you are willing to work on yourself, there is nothing you cannot achieve. So I think this would be the prime thing, or the prime communication that I want to give for today's session. Now I understand that if I go on speaking about what is a resume, how to build it, and so on and so forth, it might get a bit boring. So what I would do, or rather what we would do today, is tell you a story. Okay, a story of a boy, Sarthak, who is a fresher and who is working, who is studying in semester 7, say, for example, studying in LNCT, and is in his 7th semester. He has a company coming up in the next week, and he is very stressed out, what to do, how to do. So let us see if this story helps you understand how to create your resume and how you can face your interviews. We will try and keep it in the same format so that it is more relatable. So as I said, Sarthak is a 7th semester student studying in LNCT. So his company, he has a company coming up in the next week, and he's frantically roaming around in his college hallway, thinking on what to do, what not to do, how to create a resume, and so on and so forth. So while he was roaming around in the hallway, he bumps into Dharminder. So Dharminder is his soft skills teacher. Now, Dharminder has recently joined the college, and he has worked as a HR professional in since last 5 years in a big multinational company. So Dharam bumps into him and seeing Sarthak so worked upon, he asks him what is the reason. Sarthak tells him that he's unable to prepare a good resume and he's extremely stressed about the same. Okay. Now Dharmendra tells him that do one thing, relax and meet him after his class in an hour. Okay. Uh, Dharam told him that and went away for his session. Sarthak goes to Dharam's cabin in an hour, and Dharam is there waiting for him. So now Dharam asks him again, okay, now tell me what is it that you need, what is it you have done till now, and what is your stress factor. So Dharam tells him that, sir, I have collected a few resumes from my seniors who have been placed in that company, and I'm thinking of copying the same resume, just changing my name and my details here and there. So Dharam does one thing. Dharam asks him to sit down. He opens his laptop and shares a template of a resume with Sarthak. Sir, can you switch the screen? Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, now now Sarthak told him that he has had a few copies of resume from his seniors, and he wants to take it ahead like that. Dharam gives him one suggestion, that your resume should reflect your personality and not anybody else's. The attributes that are mentioned, it should be your attributes and not anybody else's. So please do not ever commit the mistake of copying somebody's resume. Your resume should be your own. It should reflect what you have done in the past, what you are willing to do. So he showed him the template that you can see on the screen as well, that these are the few things you should look out for in a resume. You can copy a format, you can copy a template, but the content should always be yours. Okay. Now Dharam told Sarthak about these three first things that should be there in every resume. It is a name, a email ID, and a phone number. Now, if you do not have this, it becomes difficult for a panelist or a company to address you, or for any company or any panelist to know or contact you in case you are selected, rejected, whatever may be the communication they want to give it to you. Okay. Now, this is extremely important. One thing that many students ask, and Sarthak also asked Dharam, that, sir, is it okay if I put my photo also there? Now, photo is something which is always appreciated. If you can put a photograph in your resume, that is perfectly fine and that is good to have. However, it is not a must have. If you do not want to put your photograph, or there is something you do not want to have it there on your resume, that is perfectly fine. But it is a it is a good practice to put your photograph on the resume. So next comes objective. Uh, the objective part is something which tells the interviewer that why do you want to join that particular industry and why do you want to join that particular firm. So Dharam told Sarthak that he would suggest him to build a resume specific to a particular organization. Okay, say for example, the first company that is coming up is from a IT industry, and the candidate who is to sit for that company is an electronics candidate, for example. So that objective for him should be aligned to the fact that he is a electronics student and why he would want to work in an IT industry. That objective should be precise. Now if a company, if say the next company which is coming is the electronics company, and his objective should definitely be personalized for that company. So whichever company you are sitting for, whichever organization you intend to go to, please customize your objective according to that. It would be advisable. So that is the next input that Dharam gave. So what this does basically for students, it gives a personalized touch to that resume. The next thing should be academic details for sure. You will, or rather, Dharam told Sarthak that he'll have to mention his 10th, 12th diploma, BTech or MTech, whatever courses he has done till then. Now, the academic details should be accurate and correct. So, for example, if I, as a student, is putting in, say, BTech as my qualification, the score till that particular semester you should put it up there. The duration of the course should be put there. So for example, your or say for Sarthak, for example, the duration was 2017 to 2021. Okay, that is the duration of BTech he has, so the duration should be put there. Similarly for 10th, if say the score is 9 and his duration was 2009 to 2010, he has to put it that in there. So the details should be correct, the details should be accurate. Okay, now the same set of details should be put in for all the for all these things. So when I say that, it means that the diploma, the all the educational qualification details should have those details. Now, the next thing that you can see is technical skills. You should put in your technical skills, whichever you are, comfortable with. You should categorically mention those skills which you have worked on and have knowledge about. Now, Sarthak asked that he had attended a seminar on artificial intelligence a year back, and so should he mention AI is as a skill? To that, Dharam asked him a counter question. Sarthak, so do you remember what was taught in that particular seminar or webinar? Do you know what has been told to you? So Sarthak told that he doesn't remember much. To that, Dharam told, I think that is your answer. If you are not able to speak on what you have written in your resume, you should not actually add on to it. So Sarthak asked a next question. Sir, I know Java, I know C++, but my knowledge of Java is extremely theoretical. And for C++, I am confident. I have a hands-on, I have done coding and so on and so forth. Okay. So Dharam told him one thing. Now, this is something a bit tricky. You definitely can put these things there, but you have to be sure, okay, as to what you want to say. Say, for example, you are putting Java and you are putting C++. You have to be, sure to communicate it to the panelists that what is your comfort level on each of these skills. So what Dharam suggested Sarthak was he can rate his skills, but now that becomes a very tricky proposition because at times panelists might not like you rating, the skills that are there if you are not rating it honestly or appropriately. Say, for example, you are, say, for example, for Sarthak, he is theoretically sound in Java and very good in, C++. He might want to rate it as 3 or 4 for Java out of 10, and maybe he can rate 7 to 8 for C++ out of 10, basis his comfort. Now, what it does is it gives the panelist an idea your comfort level on that particular programming language. So the panelist would ask you questions on the same lines itself. Say, for example, if you are comfortable in theory, they will ask you questions regarding, encapsulation, inheritance, so on and so forth. So if it is a Java thing, or they'll ask you about theory particularly and not delve into coding. Now, if you have given 7 or 8 as your rating, they would want you to be actually good at it. Now, as I said, it is a very tricky proposition. Do not overrate yourself. So if you think that you are a 5 out of 10, rate it 5. Do not rate it as 7, thinking that it would give a good impression to that panelist. It actually backfires, and because what the panelist would see is that you are good at it, and he will ask questions on those lines. Okay, so be very careful when you are rating. It is a good practice as far as I am, as far as my inputs are considered, but it is tricky, and you have to be very honest about it. Okay. Now comes the favorite subjects. Okay, what are the favorite subjects that you would want to have? The thing is, Sarthak is a electronic student, and he has some certain electronic subjects that he's more comfortable in. So he can put those subjects there. Uh, what it does is it helps the panelists to ask questions on those subjects, understanding that the candidate would be more comfortable in it, and to check whether whatever he has written in the resume is true or not. It also gives Sarthak an opportunity to steer the interview in a direction he would want to. So, for example, if I'm asked a question on, say, how do you, how many pages a resume should be? That is a comfortable question for me. I can always say that it preferably should be one pager, but if it extends to 2 pages, that is fine, but preferably it should be one pager. So if I am asked questions on my comfort domain, I think it is always better. So that is what Dharmendra also suggested, Sarthak. The next thing that came up that has to be added are internships. Okay. Now internships are again a bit tricky. You have to add in all those details or talk about all those things you have done during your internship. How you got that opportunity, what you learned in that particular internship, what you contributed. Those things has to be mentioned, but in short, for sure. Now, Sarthak asked Dharmendra, "Sir, I have not done any internship during my 3 years of course. What do I do? Does it hamper my chances? Would it make me less uh, uh, you know looked upon candidate or something? They would not want me there." So Dharam said one thing: do not worry about what you have not done. If you have not done an internship, that is perfectly fine. Worry, or rather work on what you have done and what you can speak about. Okay. Say for example, if you have okay, so before I give an example, I would want to suggest the next topic, which is academic projects. Say for example, you have not done any internships and you have done some academic projects. Saram told Sarthak that say you would have definitely done some academic projects as part of the course curriculum. That is perfectly fine to mention only that, and state that what you have done in your second and third year as an academic project and what your contribution was in that project. So if you can speak at length about your project, your academic project, I think you should be good to go. Okay. Okay. Now the question that would come from the panelists about your academic project is whether you took help from your teammates, you took help from your faculties, what was your contribution, how you went about it. Speak in detail about it, that, and be sure that whatever you are writing in the resume, you have actually done those. Because if say they ask you a question and you have not actually done anything on those lines, then it becomes a challenge. So whatever you have done, put it in the resume, put those academic projects there, and I think you would be good to go. Okay. Just let me scroll it down a bit. Now, along with academic projects, what you can also add is your certifications. Okay. Now, the question again comes, sir, I have not done any certification. Would that be, problem? It is not. It is always a good to have and not a must have. Now, Sarthak told Dharmendra that he had done a certification 2 years back on Python. So, should he add that certification or not? Dharam told him, "Do you?" Again, asked him the same question. Do you remember what you have, learned and understood? So Sarthak told him that I will have to brush upon it, because at this point of time I do not recall everything. What Dharam suggested is you can take two approaches. Either you brush up on your skills and put it on the resume, or you can let this go. I understand that you would have taken effort to do that certification, but if you are not confident about it, if you are not sure about it, you can actually let it go, and during your course of interview you can just bring that topic up and say that you have done this certification. However, you do not recall everything that is there as of now. So it gives you a it shows the panels that you are honest about it. You have not you do not recall it, and hence you have not mentioned it in the resume. But since you have done it, you have taken the effort to do it. You are discussing about the same during the interview process. So that is the next thing that Dharam told Sarthak. Now, Sarthak asked him that what about my extracurriculars or whatever I have done. Dharam told him that it is very important that you add your extracurriculars, but it is also tricky. Okay, you have to mention your actual hobbies and not something that you have done once or twice. So, for example, if you have read one Chetan Bhagat book, it does not mean that your hobby is reading. Okay, because trust me, the panelists are going to see that and they'll ask you a question on, say, for example, if you have read just one book, they'll ask you who is, who wrote The Alchemist or something on those lines. So you'll be in a, fix. So whatever you are saying, make sure that you actually know that. I'll give you another example. Say you have written your hobby as badminton. You play badminton. So it would not be unfair to ask who is the number one ranked badminton player currently. So if you are writing something, please be very thoughtful about it. Please be very confident about it. About speaking on the lines that okay, this is what it is, and I know these things about it. So whatever you write in your resume, please be very thorough about it. Please be very confident about it. That is the only suggestion that Dharam gave Sarthak, and Sarthak was actually very relieved. He went back to his hostel to prepare his resume. He completed his resume and sat for the placement process next week. He cleared the test process. He cleared the first round, wherein there was a resume shortlisting. He came to the interview round. Now, he even cleared the technical round, but he could not clear the entire interview process, which is primarily the HR interview process. So he was very upset, and he came back to hostel. He went and met Dharam again. So Dharam asked him what happened during the interview process. He asked him to tell him in detail. So whatever Sarthak told Dharam, Dharam understood that it was not more about technical skills, wherein he might have been rejected. It is more on the softer part of the interview, wherein how he would have taken the interview altogether. Now, to guide him on that, Dharam thought that he would rather, take him to his colleague Vinalini, who would be able to guide him in a better way and tell him more points on how he could have taken the, interview and how he can sit for the next interview process going forward. So I would now hand over the baton to our own Mrinalini, who would share the story of Sarthak and Mrinalini and how he made it through. So over to you, Mrinalini.
Thank you so much, Shakti. I hope my voice is audible.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Vrindalini, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So, to continue with the same story on how I met Sarthak and what happened later on, let me just continue what exactly happened when I met Sarthak. So, when Dharam told me that there is a student called Sarthak, he's in his seventh year, and he did sit for an interview, and Dharam had helped him with his resume building and everything, but still he got rejected in the interview, and he wants to meet me. I was very curious to meet Sarthak and also try to understand his problem and give him the right solution. So I told Dharam that why don't you send over Sarthak to my office at around 2 o'clock. So he told me okay. Then I said okay, fine. So I told him okay, I'll meet him at 2 p.m. on Monday, and the same was informed to Sarthak as well. So when it was Monday and I was waiting for Sarthak, it was around 2 o'clock. So I waited for him for 2:10 till 2:20, and then finally he reached my office at 2:30. So when I saw Sarthak, he was was panicking, and he was rushing. Because he was rushing, he was like not breathing properly and everything. So I told him, hi Sarthak, why don't you have a seat? And when I told him that, Sarthak, I had asked you to meet me at 2 o'clock, and you're already late by half an hour. He told me that, ma'am, I had a football practice, and sorry, I am late because I cannot avoid that. So I was just looking at Sarthak. So he was wearing a football jersey. His hair was very shabby, बाल completely बिखरे हुए थे, and he was very, like, he was chewing gum, and he was very unprofessional, to be honest. So when I met Sarthak, I told him that, Sarthak, do you understand that your attire today is very unprofessional, and do you think you can appear for an interview looking like this? What do you think? So Sarthak understood what I was trying to say, and he said, he apologized. He told me, sorry, ma'am, I understand what you're saying, and obviously, this is not what is expected out of me. So I told Sarthak that there are some things which, even if you have the perfect resume, you cannot clear the interview process, because there are definitely some things that you need to work on. So when I first sat him down, I explained him about the interview process. So I told Sarthak that as per the interview process that you would be going ahead with in your placement process, there could be two types of interviews that you could give. One is a physical format or in person interview, wherein you either go to the organization where you have the interview, or the organization or recruitment team comes to your college and you have an in person interview with them, wherein you are physically present at the interview venue. The next type of interview, which I'm sure most of you will be having this placement season, is your virtual interview, wherein you will be asked for an interview through your laptop, how we are having this conversation right now. Same way, you'll have a virtual platform through which you will be interacting with your recruitment team as well as your panelist, and then all the interview process will be virtual, wherein you would have to have an internet connectivity and everything else. So I told Sarthak first that, because some parts of both kind of interview are one and the same, I will tell you what are the important things that you need to prepare for when it comes to an interview, and then we will proceed with how you should prepare for a physical interview, and then subsequently we will proceed with how you can prepare for a virtual interview. So the very first thing that you need to make sure, Sarthak, is being on time. Okay, so there are few tips that I'll be sharing. There are around 7 to 8 tips. The first thing is be on time. So that is what is the minimum expectation from a panelist, from a candidate, for any interview that the candidate goes to. So if your interview is scheduled at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning, please be on the venue by 9:45 minimum. Don't go to the venue a lot of time, as in, don't go to the venue by 8:30 or 9 o'clock. You can reach the venue by 9:45 for a interview which is scheduled at 10 o'clock. Okay, same applies for any of the other processes that happens in the recruitment part. So wherever you go, please be on time. The next thing that is of utmost importance is dressing up professionally for an interview, be it a virtual interview or your physical interview. The first thing that creates an impression in the mind of a panelist is how presentable you are. So physical appearance does not mean that you have to be dressed up in a three-piece suit and you have to look very like professional, like an executive or something. The minimum expectation out of any interview panelist is just be formally dressed, wear a formal shirt and a formal trouser. That is what is expected, and this is also important. So even if you're dressed up formally in a shirt as well as a trouser, and if you wear sandal, obviously that also does not look professional. So be completely professionally dressed, and that will not only give a good impression to the panelists, but you will also have certain level of confidence that comes up with dressing well for an interview. The next thing that is important is how you talk. What is your body language like? How do you present yourself? Are you polite enough? Are you trying to communicate in a proper manner? So, communication and body language is the next point that I want to definitely specify. So, please try to be pleasant. I understand you are. Under tremendous amount of stress, but obviously the panelist is also a human being just like you. They will obviously try to make you comfortable. They might offer you a glass of water. If you feel that you are nervous, try to have a sip of water. You'll feel better, and try to be polite. You can if you are comfortable doing that, you can just shake your hand with the panelist as a way of creating the first impression. But if you're nervous about it, don't worry, just have a seat and you can start by beginning the conversation with the panelist. The next thing that which is of importance is tell me about yourself. So this is the kind of question that is asked to every candidate, be it virtual or a physical interview. And what we have observed as a panelist who have been taking more than 2 to 3,000 interviews in my entire tenure is that whenever we ask student about tell me about yourself, they are either confused or they actually don't know what to talk about. Either they talk about the complete resume that they had prepared, or they don't talk about anything at all. And most of the times, I would suggest that keep your tell me about yourself questions answer as maximum 60 to 90 seconds. That is a minute and a half. So you can cover about what you have done so far, your highlights or your strengths, as well as what are your hobbies and what is your area of interest other than academics. This is something that you can definitely talk about. And so you are not expected to know everything, obviously. So whatever you are very confident about, that you can definitely start a conversation with, that is something that should be a part of tell me about yourself answer. And the next thing that I would like to highlight is try to keep the interview like a conversation. So don't treat it as a monologue that you have to tell everything at once, or you will be asked questions and only then you have to answer, or something like that. In case you want to drive the interview, it is completely dependent on you. For example, if you start with a topic, for example, if you start with that you are a marathoner, you like to run, the interviewer will automatically ask you a question if you have talked about it yourself, and you can drive the interview in the path that you want it to be. That is again very important. If you are very nervous and you are not able to talk properly or just answer to the minimum, then the entire conversation or an interview will be just a monologue where you will be asked a question and then you will just stick to 1 or 2 words as your answer, and it will not be like a conversation. The more you drive it as a conversation, the more it will be easier for you to communicate what you want to say, and it will be easier for the panelist also try to understand what you are trying to say and how you can fit in into their company's culture. The next thing, which is the most important thing, that is the fifth point, is your attitude. So it is observed. I mean, we have taken so many interviews that we kind of know just when the candidate enters for the interview, in the very few seconds, we actually kind of know that whether this person will be able to perform well in the interview, perform well in the company or not. And uh, once we do that, we have this gut feel that comes in the first few seconds of an interview. As a panelist, I would say that there's a gut feel that this candidate will do well in the interview process, or else you'll know that this person might get rejected. Obviously, the main part of the entire interview is how the candidate talks, what the candidate has performed so far in his academics, how he has done so well in his extracurricular activities and developed skills which are important to enable them succeed in a workplace. Obviously, those things are very important. But with that gut feel, I kind of understand that whether a candidate has a good attitude to learn, whether the candidate will be able to survive stress and pressure that comes with projects, whether the candidate will be able to succeed in whatever project that he takes up. Those are the things that comes up with an attitude that the candidate carries, right? So obviously that is also very important for any candidate. You have a good attitude in you, and even if we feel that the technical skills are something that you should need to definitely develop on. You are good in basics, but there are some things that you can develop on. But if you have a good attitude, that is the attitude to learn, and in order to grow, that you are able to do all of that, then nobody will definitely reject you, because as a panelist, the minimum expectation is that you should be open to grow and you should be open to learn. And even if your knowledge at the point of the time of the interview is not that much, but if you show that attitude to learn, then definitely those are the things that will help you get selected in an interview. So these are the top 5 things that you should definitely look at. Next, I told Sarthak that Sarthak, I understand this was a physical interview, and because you did not dress up properly, or you were not able to express yourself, whatever you have put it in your resume, you got rejected. So there are few things that you should definitely look at when it comes to a physical interview. That is, why don't you practice? So practice makes man perfect, right? So I told him, why don't you sit with a friend and practice on the kind of questions asked in an interview? Typically in IT companies, there are 3 different levels of interview. The That is the 3 different interviews that happens once you clear the technical test as well as your resume screening. Once that is done, usually companies have technical interview where the students are asked questions on the technical skills. So whatever they have learned in their academics. So if a student is from mechanical engineering, the questions might be into mechanical engineering, what he has learned, what is his favorite subject. And the next thing that will be asked in any IT company's technical interview is your coding skills, your programming skill knowledge. So whatever you know about programming skills, what are the languages that you know, be it database or be it Java or C++, whatever you know about those skills, that will be asked to you. And again, coding. So you might be asked practical questions on writing a code. So that is again something that is expected out of any candidate in a technical interview. So those are the different things that you should need to prepare in order for you to clear a technical interview. The next thing which mostly IT companies have is your managerial interview. So sometimes students get confused that what is expected in a management interview. मतलब मैंने तो technical interview clear कर लिया है, अब management में क्या पूछेंगे? So usually what is asked in a management interview is your fitment in a company. For example, if you are brilliant technically, but if you have a bad attitude, let's say for example, if Sarthak faced a similar situation where he was brilliant technically, but if he didn't carry that attitude or the fitment for him to be culturally fit in a particular company, then that will not help him to get chosen for that particular company. So the same way applies for a managerial interview. So in managerial interview, you will be asked questions which are scenario based. So for example, I'll give you an example. That's what I told Sarthak also. That let's say for example, you are in a situation. It is Friday evening, and you have already committed to your friends that after work you will be going out with them for a party or something. And at 6 p.m. in the evening, your manager calls you and tells you that, Sarthak, this is something that I need a PPT from you because the client is not going to work uh, it over the weekend, and by Monday they need to definitely submit it to the main client. So the client needs to see a PPT of whatever project we have done so far. So why don't you prepare for a project in next 1 hour and submit it to me? So obviously, in that kind of a situation, if you are having an attitude where you're saying that, uh, "Sir, this is not what is expected out of me. It's already 6 p.m. and I would have to leave then that is obviously not right. I mean, if there is an emergency and you need to leave, obviously it is understandable. But how you perform in a stressful environment, and what are the ethics or values that you carry with you in that kind of a situation, and how you handle it so well, is something that is expected out of you in a managerial interview. So apart from that, apart from the different scenarios that will be given to you, you will also be have different parameters in which the panelist will be judging you. So based on your communication, whether you are able to express whatever you are trying to say. So that does not mean that you have to be very good in your communication skills. The basic or minimum expectation in a management interview is whether you are able to communicate. For example, if you are doing an internship, did you have done an internship in an IT company, and whether you are able to communicate your learnings through that internship. That is the minimum expectation in a managerial interview. Your communication, your fitment to the company, whether you will be able to perform once you join. Those are the things that is, you know, expected out of a candidate. The third interview, which usually happens, is the HR interview. And most of the candidates feels that अब मैंने टेक्निकल और मैनेजरियल क्लियर कर ही लिया है तो एचआर में क्यों ही रिजेक्ट करेंगे. But that is again a situation in which you need to perform better for any company to hire you. So in an HR interview, what is important is that you try to understand about the company that you are appearing for. So that does not mean that you look at the Wikipedia page of the company and try to by heart who is the CEO or what do the company do. What is expected out of your understanding of the company is what do they actually do. For example, I told Sarthak that if you are sitting for an interview with TCS tomorrow, you are expected to know what are the kind of clients TCS has, what kind of services or products do they have, what kind of different things or services that they provide to the clients, how do they generate their income through providing these services, what will be your role once you join that company. Those are the things that you need to prepare on, because in the HR discussions, mostly the platform is open for the candidates also to ask their own questions about what is the HR policies that he will have once he joins the company. So those are the things that you need to prepare on. There has been situations where we have asked candidates that do you know the CEO of this company, and they are blank or they are confused. So obviously that is not something expected out of a candidate. End of the day, we understand that it's a student and they might be preparing for 10 to 15 companies at a time and you get confused. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to your passion. See, if you want to join a company and you're passionate about what they do, and you see yourself being a part of that company and building on it, in that case, you will not find it difficult to remember things about the company because you're passionate about it. That is what is very important, and that will help you build on what you want to present yourself as in an interview. Right? So, moving on to what is expected out of a virtual interview. So, a virtual interview is a very different platform in which the interview happens, because we are so used to having interviews in a physical format where you can see the interviewer, you can hand over your resume and everything. In a virtual interview, that does not happen. Uh, so typically, there are definitely things that you need to think about and have it present in case you are preparing for a virtual interview. The very first thing you need to remember is your internet connectivity as well as your technological skills. That does not mean your coding or your programming skills. Your internet connectivity is definitely important because that will only help you have a platform in which you can interact with the interviewer. Apart from that, you should have a technical know-how. That means that you should know how to operate a computer, you should know how to have Microsoft skills, uh, Microsoft Office skills. Those are the things that will help you have the technical know-how on having virtual interviews. it is completely understandable in case the internet connectivity goes down in the middle of an interview and you are in a panic situation trying to find out a solution and everything. That is completely okay, because at the end of the day, the interviewer will understand that this is something that is okay, and you will definitely find a solution and come back to it. So when you come back, don't be in a panic, because just be normal, and try to just have a conversation just like how you did in the previous conversations that you were having with the interviewer. Another thing that is important in a virtual interview is for you to have a virtual resume. So this is an ongoing trend, because now the scene of an interview is moving virtually. Sometimes candidates are asked to have a virtual resume. A virtual resume talks about the same way it looks just like a physical resume, but then in a virtual resume you can either talk yourself on the kind of skills you have, what you have done academically and everything, or else you can make a video of the resume that you have done and share it with the panelist. In case that is not a feasible option for you, please don't worry. You can share your documents through a soft copy format to the panelist also. So that is not something that you need to worry about. The next thing that is important is, even if it is a virtual interview, please come prepared and please be dressed for the interview. So just because you are giving an interview from home, that does not give you the upper hand of dressing up casually for it, because at the end of the day it is still an interview and you are there to be hired by a company, right? So be yourself, dress formally, and present yourself again formally for the interview, so that everything adds up for you to be selected at the end of the day. Practice, don't memorize what you want to say, so that it does not feel like you are by hearting an answer and just giving away the answer, because at the end of the day you're talking about yourself, and there is nothing about yourself that you don't know and you have to by heart, right? So that is something that you should definitely need to build upon. Practice, obviously you will and you will be able to do that on your own, and make a connection with the panelist, because what will help is, once you have a connection and once you stand out, so a panelist might be taking 30 interviews in a day for a fresher hiring. And if you make a lasting impression on the panelist by saying something, or do whatever you are doing is different than what others are doing, then the chances of you getting selected are much more than that of others, because you will have a lasting impression on the panelist's mind. And last but not the least, what I want to highlight is that at the end of the day, it's about yourself. I mean, you are not going to be talking about somebody else, or you're not going to be talking about something to create the great impression about yourself at the mind of the panelist. At the end of the day, it's not about creating an impression, but just talking about yourself, whatever you're doing at the best of your capabilities, just presenting the same in front of the panelist and doing your best. And by following these kind of things, I'm sure you'll be doing great. Be it virtual interview or physical interview, I'm sure you will excel. And the panelist will also be selecting you once you follow all of these steps and prepare everything at the best of your abilities. And with that, I told Sarthak that this is what you need to do. Why don't you do the same things and come back to me once you have a good news to share? Because I'm sure you'll do your best once you follow all of these things. And Sarthak was also very happy when he actually got to know that this is not so tough and he can definitely do that. So I actually met Sarthak around 3 to 4 years ago when all of these things happened, and today Sarthak is a part of TCS, and he has been leading a team of 30 under him within a span of 4 years from the time he has joined. So he's doing amazingly well, and he has definitely taken mine and Dharam's inputs positively and constructively, and built really well on his resume as well as on his interview skills, and because of that he's doing really well in TCS today. And with that, I urge each and every one of you to follow these steps. I hope this will help you gain valuable insights and also build up on your own resume skills as well as your interviewing skills. I would now pass on the baton to Shakti again for his last few words before we move on to Q&A.
Thanks, Mrinalini. I think everything you have covered was in detail. And I'm sure whatever inputs that we have shared from our experiences, it would help the students going forward and in the placement season. And I wish all the students the best. Now we should, we are open for questions.
So great insight, and I think so everything which is inside is out now for students to take the best before they will be appearing. Yes, we have Komal again. Gopal again. So it has been a very beautiful storytelling. So that is where I can take out the capability and the tricks of TCS of attracting the young talent. So you made such a beautiful how to prepare a CV to some 15-20,000 students online, made easy by making a storytelling session. It was phenomenal and a great creative approach from Shakti and Mrinalini. And this is something which is going to influence everyone. And we have a good number of questions coming in. We will take one by one. And something which always comes is definitely CEOs. A CV is your first note which goes to your interviewer before you enter uh, the room, and the digital online interviews will be a big game changer. So the importance of CV is very much more in the online scenario, because the interviewer will create an impression about you before meeting you online. And with the technology challenges, how to put the CV more appropriate, and not to think it is a competitive way, like Shakti told that you are, suppose you are okay in Java, so don't write on a scale that you are 9 in Java. He's not going to select on the scale which you are putting. So at times students get tempted. Oh, my friend is writing 7, and why should I write 5? I am better than him. इसको तो कुछ नहीं आता Java, and he has written 7. So I should at least write 7. So don't get influenced by the standard set by your friends. Your standard should be you yourself. So that is my only input as a placement person from last 15 years, sir. So taking few questions and moving about. So we have Ariba asking that should it be on a white background, or should we do some designing on Canva? Similar question asked by Mandeep Kaur about color template being used. It has been very common nowadays, people coming up with a lot of glassy figures, photographs, and photograph is okay, but very digital templates with a lot of colored inputs. So what's your takeaway on that? Or the plain black and white is better, or using fancy colors, or maybe a 2-3 colors highlighting on that, sir?
Okay, so I'll take this up first. So as far as we understand, the templates and everything is not an added advantage for sure. Whichever template you use, whichever color you use, it should be professional. It should be presentable. However, all the details should be definitely there. Just because you are using a template from Canva. So I have tried to prepare several resumes on Canva, and trust me, there are few things that you do not have the space to put in there. The idea of resume is putting in all the details first and then presenting it beautifully. Even if it is on a white plain background with only text, it is perfectly fine. However, even if you are choosing a template, please make sure to put in all the details there. After that, whatever template you choose, whatever design you make, that is fine with us. But please make sure to put in all the details there.
So don't compromise on the design with the details. So that is the point Shakti want to bring, that वो Canva के design के चक्कर में you will feel कि this is not fitting, let's remove it. So it should not be like that. So also we have Pratishta Singh, who's asking that in spite of writing our ratings, can we write at a beginner, intermediate in place of ratings? Yours.
Yeah, definitely that would also work. So the idea basically is to give panelists a feeler of what would be your comfort level in that particular technology. However you want to present that to them, that is perfectly fine.
So that he can go deeper accordingly. If you present you that have your sound knowledge, so he can go and checklist how sound you have a knowledge. So and it varies with the type of companies you are appearing, and within the company what product and what position you are applying. Suppose you are going to a digital job in TCS and you are putting, okay, my rating in technology is 2.5, so it will be really difficult for a niche technology jobs. But maybe if you are true that you are saying you're a mechanical or a civil engineer with 2.5 rating, but your extracurriculars, your learning edge is very evident with their CV, then definitely they will consider you to be an honest person and take you for their honesty. So also, sir, there's been a constant debate on what type of subjects we should mention in the resume, or the things which we know very well we should mention in the CV, or we can only just mention things which we are expert in for. So what's your and especially it comes for a mechanical and civil engineers, especially when they in their final years suddenly come to know that, oh, it's a COVID situation, the GDP and the industrial growth is not going to happen next 2 years, the core sector is going to go down, and the type of job which is available for me could be a good IT job, and IT is also transforming. So now I have to transform myself in COVID times with no faculty support, and IT is the only solution. So how I can put my CV? If I write Java, I don't know Java much. If I don't write Java, interviewer can ask, you don't. He may expect, yeah, you don't even know Java. So probably I did some 15 days classes of Java. Should I write or not? So on that background, if you can just give some ideas.
Okay. Mrinalini, would you want to go ahead first?
Sure. So, what my perspective on this is, whenever we are having an interview wherein the technical managerial panel sits together and asks the question, is on what the candidate has put. So, I obviously understand as an electronics or a mechanical engineering student, you will not have as much knowledge on programming or coding as compared to a computer science or an IT student. So obviously, if you have studied mechanical and electronics as a part of your curriculum for last 3 years, it is definite that you will be asked questions on those subjects first before moving on to coding or programming later on. So you should definitely mention on whatever you've learned so far, because your knowledge is more on those subjects as compared to coding or programming. But in case you're applying for an IT job, coding and programming is also definitely expected out of you. So in case you have learned C, C++, or Java as a part of your foundation course, and you've done some additional certifications to support what you've learned in coding or in programming technologies, then that is something that you should definitely add, depending upon on what kind of level that you are in. So if you are in a beginner or an intermediate level, then the questions by the panelist will be on those kind of programming languages that you've mentioned. But the as a panelist, I would suggest that you can mention both whatever you've learned as a part of your curriculum, as well as the coding and programming skills that you are aware about. Shakti, if you would like to add.
Yeah, so I would go to the first question that Anuj sir asked. So, should students mention only what they are expert in, and not those subjects which they might be a bit comfortable in. So what I would say is they can definitely put those subjects which they are comfortable in. However, they should, when they are having that discussion, they should tell the panelists that these are the subjects I'm expert in, these are the subjects I'm comfortable in. So you will also have to be smart and understand that the particular panelist would have passed, engineering or whatever, at least 3 to 4 years back for sure. I am not able to recall a subject the next semester altogether. Recalling it, in depth after 4 years is definitely a bit difficult. So, say for example, you are a mechanical student and you are writing your subject as thermodynamics. The panelist would ask you all the basic questions that are on those subjects because he that is something what he might recall. He is not going to deep delve into those topics and ask you all those things. What the expectation is that whatever you have written it truthfully and you know at least the basics of it. So that is how we want to see it.
Thank you, sir. So a question is coming on certification, the importance of certification, and if the internship is not complete, so can they also be mentioned? Also, to add a second question to internship is, lot of times the students get carried away with the fancy word called internship, and sometimes which is not a technical, maybe a business or a skill internship. Startups are booming everywhere, so we as education institutions also fail to provide proper guidance into internships. So is it like a related question that doing a better project is doing a project is better, or going for an internship with some experience is better? So maybe you can take one at a time, like certification, how much important that is, and then we come to internship.
Okay, I'll explain the certification part with an example. Okay. Uh, Now there are two candidates. Both are at the same knowledge level. Okay, and I have to choose only one candidate. That is the pretext. So candidate A has the same knowledge level and has a certification on that particular technology, and candidate B has the same knowledge level but do not have a certification. In this particular case, I'll select the candidate A because he has the knowledge and the certification. Now, there is a second scenario wherein candidate A has not sufficient knowledge and has the certification. Okay, candidate B has good enough knowledge and do not have the certification. And I understand you would know where I'm heading to. We would definitely hire the candidate B. So it does not matter. Okay. So it is always a good to have. It is not bad to have, but it is not necessary. I'm very much sure that apart from that example that I gave, there are multiple things that are also considered. That is your attitude, your learning experiences, whatever extracurricular activities that you have done, so on and so forth. So uh, uh, I mean, my idea of giving that example is if everything is at par and you have an added certification, then it helps. Otherwise, it is not something which would be too much important. So, for example, let me say that say both of you are in both of the candidates are on the same level knowledge wise. One has done certification, but his attitude is not good. He is not open to learn new things and so on and so forth. The other guy is on the same knowledge level, has not done a certification, but his attitude is good. He carries himself well. He is more of a team player, can collaborate well. I think we would prefer that candidate who has a better attitude. So I think that I hope that answers that question.
I would also like to add on something. There are few technologies in which certification is kind of mandatory. For example, if you are an SAP consultant or if you have learned SAP and you've gained a certification for it, that will give you an added advantage over others who might have just learned SAP but they don't have a certification for it. So there are different technologies, and if you gain certifications which is necessary for you to be a consultant or a technical expert in that technology, then certification becomes all the more important.
So the other question which is coming, I'm from non-IT branch, and a question usually comes with some of the companies that why do you want to join an IT company? So Piyush Singh has this question, and probably an insight because Kopal also agrees. A lot of mechanical civil students come to us, and last minute they say, "Ki sir is asking this." So how to be prepared about it, sir?
Okay, so I'll take this first. So nowadays, everything is driven by IT. I mean, be it civil, be it mechanical, electronics, whichever field you go, IT has a part to play in there. Okay. Say, for example, you are an automobile engineer. Now you would be working on cars. We are all aware that we have connected cars now, we have self driven cars. So IT is always there. Now, you will have to frame your answer in a way that since you have had this particular experience or you have studied this particular stream, and you see that the applicability of IT is so enticing there, I would want to work in an IT industry and to see where I can, uh, so that I can contribute more in that particular field. So if you have to be smart with your answer. Okay, so that is for sure that you are not from a IT engineering stream. You have to be sure how you relate your stream to IT, because it is, I think, as of now, the most easy thing to do, because I said everything these days are being driven by IT. So if you can relate that, I think you would be in a good spot.
Great. So another question of Saurabh and similar from Deep Tanshu Tripathi. So it's around should we mention our LinkedIn profile, GitHub profile, coding profiles like HackerRank, HackerEarth. So especially for when they go to companies for product interviews or a digital final round. So what's your say on it, sir?
So, sir, it definitely helps. It definitely gives a perspective to the panelists that this particular candidate has been working on himself and is eager to work on himself. And I think it is good to mention it. But now that being said, people who have not worked on it should not feel stressed about it. It is not the end of the world. It is again a good to have and not a must have.
Great.
Also,
So
I would like to just add something on this. So, in case a student has presented white papers on GitHub and has read or networked with people who are good, who are subject matter experts in any technology, and you want to highlight that as a part of your resume or online profile, then that is definitely something that you should add because you have worked extensively on it. And that will help you gain a good project also in the company that you apply because you have knowledge on it. In case you have something like that on your GitHub profile, or if you have LinkedIn certifications on your LinkedIn profile, those are the things that you need to work on and build upon to have a good profile over the others who will be applying.
So, respecting the timelines, we'll take some few couple more questions. There are so many coming in, and that is again for Mrinalini by Sakshi Patni about the attire for girls. Now, especially what I think this year would be more of an online interview. So, in addition to the attire, the background of the camera is also equally important. Like the way you two people are professionally with the wall and me with my curtains and my telescope there. So that shows the difference. But I think even touching on that would be really good. Attire and the camera backgrounds, ma'am. Thank you.
Definitely, Anuj sir. So, what I would suggest is whenever you're having a virtual interview, please have a plain background wherever you are sitting so that it is easier for the panelists to see you while your interview is being done. In case you have any background which is very attractive as a part of the screen, then that becomes a little distraction. It acts as a distraction, and probably the interviewer will be a little distracted while asking questions or listening to you while you're answering. So please have a plain background. That will definitely help you have a better interview experience. Apart from that, as far as formals is concerned, these days I would say that every company is different and they have different dress policy as a part of the HR. So some companies want people to dress very formally. So they for girls, they are expected to wear either Western formals or Indian formals. Indian formals, may you can wear salwar kameez or kurta pajama, whatever is comfortable. That is expected out of you. There are different startups and different IT companies who are moving to a culture where casuals are also okay, but your casuals should be kind of semi formals. I mean, you can wear uh, a button down shirt instead of a t-shirt. That can be a formal. It can be in checks, which is worn on Fridays in some companies. So whatever you wear in a formal or an informal environment, just ensure that you look presentable. I mean, you yourself should feel that in case I have to present in front of a client today, am I looking fine to do that? If you feel that you are looking fine, then you're good to go. Please do check with the HR in the company that you join on what kind of dress policy they have, and you can follow the same.
Uh, just I would like to add one update. Whenever you are going for an interview, whatever is the dress policy, it is always preferable to be formally dressed. When you get into that particular organization, you can definitely follow whatever dress policies they have. But while you are going for an interview, it is always suggested that you go formally dressed.
Yeah.
So again, I think we missed upon the internship part. If we
Okay.
yes. So internship is something which is coming up. Like people from non-IT doing non-IT internships. They are a question, and a lot of internships. At times, people get tempted to do an internship with maybe a type of job which is not more of an IT or engineering related, and they don't prefer doing a project or maybe a full stack project, and maybe they feel that internship is more important than doing an IT project. So, and sometimes it's a mix of, let's say, internship adds value sometimes. So what's your take? Like, should we compromise on projects with internship, and how much internship adds value?
So, if an internship is in a particular domain, say if you are coming for a IT industry and you have done internships in IT domain, that is always a added advantage because you would be able to speak or drive from your experiences from that particular internship. Now there are non-IT internships as well. So whatever you have done in a corporate setup, be it IT, non-IT, it always enriches your experience in terms of how you conduct yourself in a corporate. So if you have done something as an internship, it might be a non-IT, but it has added value to your growth in terms of a professional, in terms of a student. I think you can always mention that in your resume. But that being said, you say, for example, if you have done a, say you have done a calling kind of internship, wherein you had to call people to, gather data and so on and so forth, and it is not that enriching as a career for you. In that case, you can give it a miss and not add it in the resume. Now, coming to the projects, so if you have done any life projects, any academic projects, whether they are non-IT or IT, you can always mention them. But whatever you are mentioning, please be sure that you are able to speak about it. So, for example, if you have done, say, you have created a bot who takes questions on agriculture, say, whatever, maybe I'm just taking an example, you should be able to answer what sort of algorithm you would have used in that bot. Or say if you have created a robot and who follows up line, that line following robot, you should be able to answer what sort of microprocessors or what sort of those diodes and those sort of things have been used in that particular robot which you have made. So you should be very clear about your contribution and you should be able to speak about those projects.
Also, just like to add something here. The whole point of doing an internship for a student is to understand what they've learned in their academics and how they can utilize the same once they enter the corporate world. The interrelation between academics and corporate world is what you will be doing as in your internship. So the panelist expects you to know on the skills that you build up on while you're doing an internship. So even if you're doing an internship in a business development or a sales kind of a thing, but you have learned leadership skills, you know how to handle a team, you have learned interpersonal skills out of that internship, please do add that, because that has helped you build upon a person, even if it is not IT related. If you have learned something significant out of your internship, please add it as a part of your resume.
So,
So, yeah, sorry. One of the questions we are getting is like how we can restrict ourselves from mentioning everything on the resume. Like people want to mention everything, students want to mention every small little thing they have done, like maybe from the school time itself. So, how can we restrict ourselves, or what should we restrict ourselves to?
Okay, first of all, only mention things which are relevant and you would have done maybe 3 4 years down the line. I mean, say for example, if you have played handball in your class 8th or something, I mean, it doesn't make sense until and unless it is a national level thing that you have done. So anything that you have done on a larger scale, it is still relevant. So for example, you have played national level badminton, for example, in your class 10. It is a relevant fact to be added because it shows your it shows your agility. But say if you have played handball in class 12 in a straight, school level, it is irrelevant fact for the organization. Now coming to projects and internships, so the question is how do you restrict? Now you have a leeway of 1 to maximum 2 pages of to write your resume. So if you ask me, you should restrict it to one. But even if you want to extend, it should not extend more than 2 pages. Now, I'm sure as a student, there are many things that you might have done in comparison to what I did when I was in engineering, because students these days are more, they have more information. They are doing a lot more things than at least what we used to do. So, you can add all those things in brief. So, for example, you have done 5 projects, okay, and all those 5 projects are relevant for your current, I mean, so if it says that you have grown from that to this, you should add it. But keep it brief as much as possible and do not anyways extend 2 pages. Preferably it should be 1 page, but do not go beyond 2 pages.
I'll give you one more tip. So, what I discovered as a interviewer is that in case any one of you has your LinkedIn profile completely updated, and you want to have the parts of your LinkedIn profile as a part of your CV, there is a website called enhancecv.com. It transfers all your LinkedIn data and makes a one-page resume for you. So you can explore those kind of options in order to stick to one page, but still have all your skills and things that you know as a part of your resume.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It was a very wonderful tip. Also, we've got one more question from Anjali Pandey. This is a very common question that we generally get from students. Like, how do we remove the fear facing interviews, or how can we build confidence before facing an interview? I mean, this is a very common question which we get from almost all our students.
Okay, so I think Mrinalini has touched upon that when she was speaking. So she said that you can,
Right.
have a practice round or practice session with your friend. Now, there are two things that you can actually do. The first is what she said, practice with your friend. So there are certain set of questions. So, okay, what I did was I had a friend in my room. I would sit down with him. There are few set of questions that everybody asks. Tell me about yourself. This is that. And few technical questions that we prepared ourselves that say what is inheritance, what is encapsulation, and the basic questions. Obviously, those are not the only questions that are going to come, but just for the preparation sake. So he would ask me those questions and I would answer those questions to the best of my ability. Now that helped me gain confidence because if those similar or even anything on those lines are asked, I would be in a position to answer that in whatever way I can. So that is one thing. The second tip for people who lack confidence in communicating, you can practice it by looking at a mirror. Okay, so I think that's the most cliched tip that everybody gives. but trust me, it works. Okay. So you can always practice whatever you have to say in front of a mirror, or maybe you can record it and see for stammers, tics, and nervous things wherein you feel that you have not done good. Do it over and over, and you would eventually get better at it. So I understand that this question might not be what I am going to speak about. So English is something people think that if they are not fluent in English, they are not good in communicating. Just let me tell you, English is just a language like Hindi or any other language it is. Communication has nothing to do with the language. If you are good at it, it is good. If you are not good at it, try and get better at it. Even if you are able to communicate with not so fluent English, that is perfectly fine. However, be sure to communicate and articulate well. And in order to do that, again, practice is something which makes it better. And that is it. If communication is a problem for you, English, I would suggest is watch, English movies or series first with a subtitle, then without a subtitle. Read, books, English books maybe, and if possible, I understand which might I mean, your friends might make fun of you for that, but try and speak to them in English. I'm sure they would make fun of you, but it helps. So,
Right. Thank you so much. So one more question you're getting is like, what should the student do if you don't know the answer of a particular question that the interviewer asks?
tell
So how
them
should
that
they
you
react?
don't.
What should they say?
Nothing. Just tell them that you are not aware of it,
I
and
think that's the
maybe
best answer.
yeah, yeah.
So I think the questions are not going to end, but we to try to take all the best we can. And we, in the interest of time, we really appreciate the amount of questions which are coming, and the manner the students have come up and shown their interest in this career Pathshala. So we really are indebted and grateful to Mrinalini and Shakti, also Kopal, for you being here and driving us to this beautiful 90 minutes engagement we had. Hope, and we hope that this engagement brings a positive change and a lot of inputs, clarity has been in the minds of students. However, in case you have any of the doubts, you can write to us at careerpathshala2020@gmail.com. We will definitely pass the summary of questions to again Shakti, and he will definitely reply to us, which he'll be sharing with you. So a very important session on was resume building and facing interviews. So that is the crux, and that is the starting phase of a big journey of career Pathshala, which we are going to embark, and we'll slowly uncover every aspect of interview, going into technical details. And we really enjoyed the entire session, and the storytelling idea is something which I'm going to steal from you, Shakti, and it's going to be a best possibility in the online. And I think the faculties who are taking classes should try to bring some storytelling into the classes. Taking classes on heat transfer and on operating systems with storytelling is a new evolution they have to bring in, so that the interest of students remain. So it has been a really fantastic start of the day, and really a great thanks to Shakti and Mrinalini for coming up. It was a very short time. I just spoke to you, and you said yes, we'll be there. And it's a morning time when the office hours are on, coming up and sharing your best experiences out of the thousands of students you have interviewed, and equal number of panels who have given you feedback. So this was a thank you is a very small word for bringing the type of knowledge you have brought to the students. So so Career Pathshala also is a small initiative by young Indians, but a big support from the industry vertical. We are getting phenomenal support from companies like TCS who are coming up. to utilize this opportunity to support the student fraternity. I would like to have your final words, comments, and blessings from Minalini madam, then Shakti, and then we'll go to Gopal. Yes, Minalini ma'am, your final words for
Yes.
students in pandemic preparing for campus, and maybe second year students also who are looking forward for a career.
Thank you so much, Anuj sir. It is our privilege and honor to be a part of this platform where we could talk about our perspective, share our experiences, and I really hope that the students found it interesting and were able to have learned something new out of this. Also, to all the students who are listening to us right now, I understand the times are tough and you are all little nervous and also excited for the upcoming placement process. Please don't worry and believe in yourself. I'm sure you will do wonders because you have been preparing since last 3 years. You are already doing so well. So don't worry. I'm sure you'll do great and all the best to all the students. Thank you so much, Kopal, for having us here as well.
Thank you, Mrinani. Thank you, Anuj sir, and thank you, Team CII, for having us here. I understand that there would be many students who would be, watching us. The only input, the only thing that I would want to communicate is, do not worry. There have been challenging times, and there will be challenging times, and it would not be the end of the world for sure. I mean, until and unless it is the end of the world, it is not going to be the end of the world. If you make or if you get that offer, perfect. If you do not get that offer, that is also fine, because I think that is one of the learning experiences that you have. Do not fret over the fact that I didn't get it. These are difficult times, and some of you might do the best, some of you might not cross that mark, and that is not wrong, and that is not something which you would be looked down upon. You will have to find comfort in your family, in your friends, and see that you get there where you want to eventually. So if you get selected in any of the organizations, perfect. And I would actually want all of you to get there, and I would wish you all the best for the same. But again, if you do not, my only request, my sincere request is, do not feel bad about it. Do not feel that you are anywhere wrong. I'm sure you would have put in your effort. It is just not the best time for you. You will get there, and just take pride in the fact that you have worked for it, and I'm sure you will be there. So all the best, and thank you the entire team. Thank you, Kopal, and thank you, Anusa, for having.
Yes, Gopal, your final words to the students before we.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nalini ma'am. Thank you so much, Shakti sir, for being a part of the session today. I'm sure it was a wonderful session, and I'm sure students must have taken a lot of valuable tips from today's session. Also, your encouraging words in these difficult times will uplift the morale of the students, which is and which was a very important thing to do. And thank you, YI, for this wonderful session, because this will provide a strong base for the students to prepare for the upcoming interviews, for the upcoming placement season. So once again, I would like to thank Nalini ma'am and Shakti sir for being here. Thank you so much.
So we really know the time to wrap up, and we appreciate the involvement of TCS, especially Shakti and Mrinalini, to sit forward. We'll have Mr. Gandhi also joining us next week to take a session on Business 4.0, a product which TCS does a great business with a lot of organizations. So in this tough times, we definitely feel that this type of sessions will add a lot of value. And as Shakti has said, that diamonds are found very deeper into the earth. So if you dig something and you don't find a diamond, don't get disheartened. Keep digging. So one day you'll go and you'll go deeper and you'll find a diamond for your career. So take a chill pill. We all are there to support, and the industry is doing really phenomenal. and such type of times is giving India an opportunity to prepare for its future, and the future of India is no one else than you guys. Thank you for watching Career Pathshala. We really feel sorry for people whose questions we could not take, but definitely we'll come back to those questions and answers. And a big thanks, a gratitude from Young India Bhopal chapter to Mrinalini and Shakti sir for being here. My co-host Gopal, who is our new young Indian member from Bhopal chapter, and across all chapters of Young India, the nationals. We really thank you. We had a great time, and we also look forward for having you back very soon. It's your own Career Pathshala. Thank you, Mrinalini, and thank you, Shakti.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Signing off for the day. Thank you.